It's your turn to hear and be heard. The Huskers are headed to the locker room, and we're ready to give you all the post-game info and opinion. It's Big Red Overreaction, the first live post-game show featuring the most important voice of all, you the Husker fan. Big Red Overreaction is sponsored by Coors Light, keeping Nebraska chill, and by Equitable Bank. Also by Burton. When your plumbing's hurting, just call Burton. Get on the line now at 402-951-1620 and sound off on Big Red Overreaction, live on 1620 The Zone and 1019 The Keg.
Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to Big Red Overreaction here on 1620 The Zone and 1019 The Keg. And today, as we did last year for the Minnesota game, we are going to be live streaming on 1620 The Zone TV. While Scott Frost continues to argue his case with the officials, it's 28-3.
Yeah, it's over.
Yeah, this is, well... It is what it is. This game is almost over. We decided, what the heck with it? Let's just go for it right here. It is Big Red Overreaction, brought to you in part by Coors Light.
Oh, baby. I just popped mine open.
Nebraska chill. And also by Burton. When your plumbing's hurting, just call Burton. And by Equitable Bank, we take banking personally. As soon as we get an official final, we'll give you the official final. As of right now, it's 28-3. But we are here for you for the next couple of hours. We will hear from the head coach, we hope, after the game. This is the longest review for a non-consequential touchdown, maybe in the history of college football. Also, throughout the day today, and Matt, we might as well go ahead and fire up the first one. We need an update from Ames, Iowa.
Give me a moment here, guys.
We're waiting. We have a special sounder for our updates today from Ames, Iowa. Matt will let me know as soon as he has it.
This update's not going to be good. I will spoil it just a little bit. This update is going to be bad and sad, especially for people like you and me.
Bad and sad. All right, it is time for an update from Ames. Hacíamos un pausa durante Big Red Overreaction para recibir una actualización de El Ásico. It is our El Ásico update. Iowa State has just turned it over for the fourth time today, and they are going to the end of the third quarter. It has been all Hawkeyes this afternoon, just as they picked apart Indiana last week with turnovers and making Michael Penix look bad.
Yeah.
Today it has been Brock Purdy, and Iowa leads El Ásico 24-10 over Iowa State. That game is going to the fourth quarter.
How about this, John? I saw this stat from Chris Felica about 5 minutes ago. Since 2016, Iowa State is -8 in turnover margin versus Iowa, and so now it's -9. 0 forced, 9 turnovers committed. So they are -9 going back to 2016, and they haven't gotten a single takeaway in that time frame. Absolutely brutal.
Meanwhile, in the game that won't end, Connor Culp has missed his third field goal of the day. Scott Frost brought him out to attempt a 30-yard field goal at the end of the game after that very lengthy pause to review an inconsequential play. And the final score will be Nebraska 28 and Buffalo 3. So we welcome all of you who, just like we normally do, wait until the bitter end, the bitterest of ends, to join us. Welcome to Big Red Overreaction. I'm John Bishop alongside Josh Peterson. We are on 1620 The Zone and 1019 The Keg, also on 1620thezone.com, the Zone mobile app. And today we are on 1620 The Zone TV. We've tweeted out the links, but head to YouTube and look up 1620 The Zone TV, and we are streaming live there as well. So you can actually see us as we do the program today. Many ways you can get in touch with us here this afternoon. 402-951-1620. If you want to comment via the telephone, you can also email us into the Equitable Bank inbox, John at 1620thezone.com or Josh at 1620thezone.com. You can always hit us up on Twitter at BR Overreaction. And today, for those of you who are watching in the stream, you can comment on YouTube, and we can bring up some of the comments as the show goes on. But here's the tweet from or the comment from Stu Manji. That's 5 missed kicks now for Connor Culp in 3 games. And they have all been inside of 43 yards, I believe. It's not like he's did he attempt a 50+ yarder yet?
I don't think so. I don't think so, man. Yeah, it's weird. Yeah, it's obviously today didn't cost them anything. They got the win. They get to move to 2-1. They move on to Oklahoma next week. But just it's odd too, because with some of the mistakes that have been made, and we have plenty of time to talk about the mistakes and certainly some of the victories that Nebraska had on the football field as well individually. You look at them and you say, oh, boneheaded decision, or well, what do you expect from insert player here? This one is hard to grapple with for me right now, given the success that he had last year. But I mean, we talk about it so much, man, with kickers. The mental aspect of this game, you start losing a little confidence. And look, I think that's why Scott Frost sent him out there at the very end of the game. It wasn't to get a win that looks better on the scoreboard. I think he tried to give his kicker a little bit of confidence. And so certainly disappointing that he is unable to give his kicker a little bit of confidence. And Nebraska holds on, but they get the 28-3 win. But they left a lot of points on the field, whether it was on the kicks, certainly some penalties that brought back a couple of touchdowns as well. So in odd game, I'm very curious about the tenor of tonight's conversation from our listeners. Just judging based off of Twitter and some of the emails I've gotten, it seems a little split. So I'm curious to see where they're at with this one as the night unfolds.
402-951-1620. Also, you can hit us up in the Equitable Bank inbox, John at 1620thezone.com or Josh at 1620thezone.com. And if you are watching the video stream, you can also comment on the YouTube stream, and we will share some of those quotes and comments as the program goes on. We will hear from Scott Frost here momentarily when he gets to the microphone. This was a day for defense without question. The Eric Chenander's defense, how about this stat? Big Ten Network was prompting it up the entire broadcast. This is now the 7th game in a row that Nebraska has held the opposition to under 400 yards of offense. The only 2 streaks in the last 10+ years that exceed that was an 8-game streak that was started by the 2009 Nebraska defense when they held Texas and Arizona to under 400 yards, and then the first 6 games of the 2010 season. So that was an 8-game streak that went from 09 to 10, and then the 2008 defense held their last 3 opponents to under 400 yards of total offense, and then the first 11 opponents of 2009. There was only one team in 2009 that exceeded 400 yards of offense, and that was Colorado, believe it or not, in that blowout win in 2009.
You know what? I think that the end of that, John, I think that's why they were able to go over the yardage. If I remember right, that game ended on a Hail Mary that made it a 1-score win for Nebraska.
Right, 403 yards. So there was a 14-game streak when you combine the 08 and 09 teams. But this one, Josh, 7 straight now for Nebraska where they have held the opposition to under 400 yards. And it started after the Illinois game. So Iowa, Purdue, Minnesota, and Rutgers were all under 400 yards. And now the first 3 games of this season, Illinois, Fordham, and Buffalo. Now the streak will definitely be challenged next week by the Oklahoma Sooners. But when you consider where the strength of this team was supposed to be and where it has ended up, it's quite surprising to see how well this defense has been. Even though they haven't been able to rack up enough wins, they have certainly done their part to keep games close or to keep Nebraska in games, and they did it again today. I mean, this was pretty dominating for the most part. Buffalo had a couple of drives, but they would cinch up, inside the 40-yard line. Also, as bad as the kicking game was today, Josh, they only had the one drive that started outside of their own 30-yard line, and that was on the appropriately enough the special teams botch with the with the ball that hit Luke Reimer in the gluteus maximus and was recovered in plus territory. But other than that, Nebraska made Buffalo start inside their own 30 the entire game. And really, there were only a couple of decent drives. The first drive they had was pretty decent. They had one in the second half. But for the most part, the defense did a great job this afternoon. I thought the linebacker play today was really good. I think all three levels played really well, but you saw Reimer getting involved in the action. You saw Henrich getting involved in the action. Damian Daniels. I mean, all three levels, really. It was a really fine defensive performance against a team that I thought would have a lot more success on the ground in Buffalo.
Yeah, me too, man. Nebraska held them to 4.1 yards per carry. Get this, though, 4.5 yards per pass attempt for Van Treese. I mean, that was a great job by them. There were like a couple of leaky plays here and there, but for the most part, just off the top of my head and looking at my notes, there was not really a whole lot of plays from this one where I'm like, man, the defense for Nebraska, they were broke on this play, broke on that play. They got first down plays is what they had for Buffalo. I thought the defense did a really good job, and now it's funny, and you and I talked about it a lot this week on unsportsmanlike conduct. The idea that every game is going to be a referendum game, and every game is going to be the one that tells us something. And if they pick up wins like they did today, for a lot of people, they're just going to take the game and kind of throw it in the trash and say, okay, but what have you done for me next week? And I know that's going to be the tenor of the conversation moving forward. But I am now curious as they start going up against teams with better talent level than they have seen over the last 2 weeks. That first game now against Illinois, given what has happened to Illinois over the last 2 weeks, another huge loss today against Virginia, and then the close loss last week to UTSA. It's like, what is Illinois? I don't know what Illinois is. What is Nebraska? I still kind of don't know what Nebraska is. So I look forward to seeing this defense now. Let's not be too harsh, perhaps, to judge them against Oklahoma, because I think that's going to be a really difficult game. But after that, Michigan State gets a big win today over Youngstown State, putting up 42 points for the second straight week. They scored on their opening play in the game. After that, of course, Northwestern, and we know what that offense is or isn't, and then Michigan and Minnesota. So I'm very curious now to see if this defense can continue to do this, because the numbers that they put up today were really, really good. And the question, of course, coming out of it is how much of that is the competition level that they're playing, and how much of this is, we talk about with Damon a lot, how much of what happened today can be portable, that they can apply it towards maybe not the Oklahomas of the world, but the Michigans of the world, and the Michigan States of the world, and the Iowas and the Wisconsins of the world. How can they bring today's game to the Big Ten games? Because, really, Power 5 football now for the rest of the way.
402-951-1620 if you want to join us on the hotline, or you can hit us up on the email inbox, John at 1620thezone.com or Josh at 1620thezone.com. Of course, the positivity continues to roll in from the YouTube. This will be our last win of the season, says Daniel off YouTube. I don't think it'll be the last win of the season. Listen, I know that the offense really kind of struggled to get it going. It was really big plays, obvious, and I had a feeling this was going to be an Adrian Martinez game. I said as much yesterday. It was one of my keys to the game. I said, This is going to be an Adrian Martinez game. And sure enough, it was. His two big plays set up the first two scores of the game. And then the last, obviously the third touchdown was set up by the defense. And the fourth touchdown was the long pass to Samori Toure. So it was a big play type of day for Nebraska. There were moments, and I emphasize only moments, where the running back run game got something started. And as soon as we have an official tally on the stats, we'll have those for you. They've been having some issues with the official stats. I'm looking at the stats monitor right now. They still have not updated them officially.
I have ESPN's for you. What were you looking for? The run game?
Well, we have partials, but the official stats aren't going to be processed for a minute. But they did hold Buffalo to 135 yards on the ground, 4.1 yards a carry. And really, it was the negative plays that really helped make it work. Even though Nebraska didn't have a sack today, they had 6 tackles for loss, great open field tackling. You go back to the Reimer play that he made on 4th and 3 when they tried the swing pass, nice open field tackle there. You had Ty Robinson get into the backfield. You had Damian Daniels blow up a play on third down when it looked like it was, another third and short. And, Nebraska they did a great job of really keeping Buffalo behind the chains. And even a couple of times when they were ahead of the chains, they struggled getting first downs against this team when it really mattered. Even though the first downs, believe it or not, Josh, ended up 19-19. I mean, think about that. The first downs were the same. It was a 25-point game. And Nebraska arguably left points on the field today.
A lot of points on the field.
The stats really don't, show just how, I think, dominating the defense looked this afternoon.
Yeah, absolutely. I know Frost is just about to speak, Matt. I sent you that link there real quick before he does. Adrian Martinez, John, you mentioned it. He had those long runs, but his ability to escape the pressure in the pocket, absolutely incredible in this one.
Matt, just go ahead and bring up Frost whenever he begins to talk, and give us the high sign when we have him, and we'll go to that press conference live from Lincoln. Final score this afternoon is 28-3. Nebraska defeats Buffalo to move to 2-1 on the season. Next week, of course, is Oklahoma on Fox's big noon kickoff.
Sounds like we have Scott Frost. Let's go to him in Lincoln.
Player, he's missing some weapons right now. We had a lot of guys at that point that weren't in the game. We should have scored more offensively in the first half than we did and didn't, and then got bailed out by a couple big plays that Adrian and Samori made in the first half. Me to do, first I got to say defense, Coach Shenander and Fish and Dawson and Rude and that whole group. What a great performance by them. They gave up a little here and there, but man, they just didn't quit the whole game against a good football team. Offensively, I mean, we got to establish our base run a little better, so we can keep drives going and give ourselves more chances. They were packing the box on us a little bit, but we still need to be able to hit it downhill and get some yards, and didn't do that well enough in the first half, but a couple of plays by a couple really good players kind of bailed us out.
Can you describe that play in particular?
Not until I watch it on tape. Be honest, I was watching the route go off, and good things happen when it takes off.
Did you change in your mind as a play caller what you set out to do, especially without the two receivers going in and then losing Benson and Allen?
No, we need to be able to take more shots downfield. When we did take them today, we hit them. So we got to do more of that, and that's going to help back people off. But we also need to be able to run it better to help open those things up. So, it's hard to complain about a game against a good team where you win by 3 scores and have 500 yards of offense or whatever we had, but it didn't feel like that, and I wasn't satisfied. So we got work to do.
The effort of the defense and the heat and the way they ran around, especially on those fourth downs, those are leverage plays that they made.
Zach and Andrew and the boys did a great job getting our guys ready in the summer. They did a lot of work out on the turf in the heat in the stadium. I thought that paid off today. We had some cramping issues, but not many. Those guys were out there a lot, and we need to help them out a little more on offense by sustaining, but they didn't quit. That's a biggest compliment I can give them. I think we have a tough defense.
I want to ask you specifically about Reimer. He had 16 tackles, the pick, and then that fourth down stop by your sideline. Is that stuff what's the ceiling for him?
That's the stuff we've seen from Luke from his first day here. Kid from Northwest 12th Street in Lincoln that lived 8 houses from my parents. We were lucky enough to get him to walk on, and it was about the second day we figured we should have scholarshiped him, and he's going to make a lot of plays around here.
You didn't see any of the marquee stuff in the second half. What was the reasoning behind that?
I don't have much to do with that. We kind of talked before the series about what plays we want to get to, and Harold has those guys on a rotation, and I expect you'll see more of him.
You've said a couple times about your trust level in Connor Culp. Is there a concern level at some point, or I guess where are you at this point?
Yeah, listen, I'm scratching my head a little bit because two of our best players on our entire football team are Connor Culp and Cam Taylor-Britt, and Cam made a ton of good plays on defense, and he's a captain. I love him like a son. But punt return bit us again. We gotta scream and yell and get everybody away from that one. And I'm not sure what's going on with Connor, but he'll get it fixed. I don't want it to turn into a mental thing for him. He's too talented.
There were a couple moments where you decided to punt, maybe, you know, and you could have gone for it. Is that a sign of trust in your defense that you know if you get it back, they're going to get it back to you in good field position?
Well, we were doing a little better job of pinning them on punt than we had. We actually got a couple down there. The defense was in control, definitely had something to do with it. You know, the score of the game definitely had something to do with it. You're fine.
Is that on that punt return? Is that a communication thing with Cam and the coverage guys, or should they be away from him?
No, well, we got to be screaming Peter, 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 and get everybody away from the punt return. And we got to train them even better than we have trained them.
So you have now 6 quarters now without giving up a touchdown. How difficult is it to do in this day and age in college football?
It's going to be a lot harder next week.
Had you been waiting for a chance to defer on the opening when toss and put your defense out there first?
Yeah, and you know, it almost worked out for us. We scored right at the end of half and got the ball back in the third quarter and had a drive going and sputtered. But if you can score at the end of the first and steal a drive and score at the beginning of the third, you got a good chance of winning the game. And we almost made it happen today.
How much better do you have to get to play the way you want to win and win next week?
It's little things, you know, and I think we got a good enough team that we could win about any game we play, and we can lose about any game we play. And it's going to come down to a few plays. I got to figure out how to have our players stop getting called for penalties on scoring plays and explosive plays. I've never seen anything like it, so we'll review those and find out what's going on.
On Mother's play, what do they tell you on that, on the play where they waved off a touchdown?
They told me it was a forward pass downfield.
Scott, depending on scenarios and where your team's at, I know you handle end-of-game situations differently. Describe your thinking in the last 2 minutes today and, you know, trying to score essentially.
We were ready to, be honest, we were ready to run it out until they used the timeout, and then I was going to keep the throttle down. But when you get new guys out there, you want to give them a chance to run the offense and make plays too. And thought Logan made another good throw. That's good to see. Chris made another play, and we didn't put any more points up, so no harm, no foul.
Coach, you got to meet Corporal Page's family before the game and give them a jersey. What did that mean to you?
I tell you, that puts everything in perspective. Everything I'm doing, everything everybody's doing. Deegan was over there and didn't come back, and that's a lot more important than a first down, a third down, a score of a game, or a ball game in general. And what a great family. His little sister Emerson was so sweet, and mom and dad, and that was touching, and it puts in perspective how important that is compared to what we're doing.
Anything else, Coach?
All right, there is Scott Frost live from Lincoln, finishing up his press conference 28-3. Those of you who've been watching along on our YouTube stream at 1620 The Zone TV, we have the live stats up. They finalized the official stats. We'll get that screen back up for you a little bit later on as well. But one of the keys to the game, and that's our Rotella's Italian Bakery keys to the game, was, as I was kind of perusing over some of the specialty stats, was average gain on first down. Nebraska averaged 8.6 yards on first down to Buffalo's 3. So even though, Josh, the rushing yards, Buffalo averaged 3.5 yards per rush on first down, and Nebraska only 3.3. The big plays, the big passing plays, or the Martinez, Martinez improvising, made the difference up. And so even though the first downs were exactly the same, 19 apiece, Nebraska averaged more than 2 times the amount of gain on first down, 8.6 to 3.0 on first down. And that's your Rotella's Italian Bakery keys to the game. The key to any tailgate is a brat dog and burger bun from Rotella's Italian Bakery.
Yeah, and I would add, just looking at the keys that I had yesterday, I think I got 4 out of 5. Stop the run. I think Nebraska did a pretty good job there. Get the ball back to your offense. I thought that they did a pretty solid job there. the average on special teams. That's a swing and a miss. Stick with the run, man. They had 41 carries in this one. You subtract 9 of Adrian's 9, and you get to 32 carries elsewhere. And some of those Adrian runs were called runs as well. So that's quite a few runs. And I said Adrian needed to be a chef. They were going to let him cook. I think he had to be a good chef out there. And man, he was. I was making the point right before we began the press conference. There were multiple times where his offensive line put him in a horrific spot, and he made chicken salad out of chicken you-know-what multiple times in this game. He should have been sacked about 4 or 5 times today. Seriously, man, I continue to be impressed. The thing that I wrote down like 3 or 4 times during this one was it reminded me of playing an NCAA video game about 15 years ago when you had like a mobile quarterback and you would drop back knowing like, oh, hey, the defense is going to follow the wide receivers, and then you just take off and run. He had to do that at multiple times today because he was put in bad spots, and he did such a great job. And to do so on such a brutal day temperature-wise, over 350 combined yards. I know that I have said my fair share. I've had my fair share of criticism about him, but he is the player that they are going to have to rely on this season. He will be the reason, in my opinion, that they are able to, if they're making a bowl game, it's going to be because of Adrian Martinez this year, because at times he didn't have a whole lot of help from his offensive line and his running backs. Tailbacks, excuse me. Tailbacks, yes. Get the nomenclature right. 402-951-1620. Load up the phone lines. We'll get to some calls. We'll get to your comments. If you're watching along on 1620 The Zone TV, you can also comment in the YouTube section, and we'll share a few of those as the show goes on tonight. This program brought to you in part by Burton. When your plumbing's hurting, just call Burton. 402-951-1620. We'll also get you an El Assico update and other scores. Arkansas is in the red zone against Texas. And we will get this program started right after these words. You're listening to Big Red Overreaction on 1620 The Zone and 1019 The Keg.
That to-do list you have needs one more thing.
All right, perfect.
Chill. It's an easy thing to do. Just crack open a nice cold Coors Light
I will go ahead and play when we come back.
Take the
Sounds
afternoon
good.
off. Binge watch anything. Go to happy hour and stay for a couple
Welcome
hours.
behind the scenes, YouTube watchers.
Or hang out with just
Today,
your
John
dog.
and I are going to be on our best behavior and not yell at each other the entire time.
Whatever you do it with a Coors Light. Mountain Cold Refreshment made to chill. 2020 Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. Celebrate responsibly.
I finally found a solution for my heart. Where? Nebraska
Some
Medicine.
score updates for those of you who perhaps are watching us on your televisions. Arkansas is about to kick a field goal with a shade over 2 minutes left in the first quarter. They get it. Iowa is getting flat, or Iowa State is getting embarrassed today.
Just a short drive
Absolutely
from home.
embarrassed.
For the state's most comprehensive heart and vascular care, visit nebraskamed.com/heart. Nebraska
Matthew
Medicine.
says we're still on the air. We're not on the 1620 zone air, are we?
Got a sink that won't drain? For a limited time, we'll open your drain for only $93 or it's free. Hi, I'm Mark Evans, owner of Burton.
Yes,
AC
folks who are
Heating, Plumbing,
watching
and more.
on
Sometimes a plunger just isn't enough.
on the
Burton's
tube,
team of experts
you're going to
is
hear
on call
crosstalk
24/7 for emergency repairs.
So it's
We
a little
offer
added
upfront
bonus for
pricing,
y'all.
and your 100% satisfaction is guaranteed.
Oh,
Call for
SJ.
details on our 93
Everyone
free
still
special
want
or
Matt
request
Campbell
service at
coming in
justcallburton.com.
with the hot takes.
Hello, this is Doug Nodgard with Equitable Bank. We are now open and ready to serve you at our second location at 202nd and
That's not a
Pacific.
bit.
You
We
may
do that
ask,
all the time.
why are we growing so fast? It's simple. With Equitable Bank, you get the best of both worlds. A great digital banking
our
platform
friend.
backed by our customer service. If you ever have a glitch,
I was
going
gonna
to
have props
we'll
for
answer the
everything.
phone
I was
with
gonna
live
have a
person.
plunger,
Once you bank with us, you'll never want to
plumbing,
leave.
heating,
When you're ready
AC,
for a superior
more.
banking
Obviously,
experience,
we've
give
got
us a
the
call
Coors Lights.
at 402-827-8100.
I was gonna have some Rotellas,
We'll answer on the
and then
first
I was
ring.
gonna
Equitable
flash
Bank,
some
we take
cash.
banking personally. Member FDIC.
For Doug.
Coming up on Big Red Overreaction, we look back at the keys to the game. Brought to you by Rotella's Italian Bakery. The key to any tailgate is brat, dog, and burger buns from Rotella's
Hey,
Italian
Ron,
Bakery.
yeah, I'm rocking the Coors Light right now.
It's Big Red Overreaction. Brought to you by Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. Big Red Overreaction continues in
Women
1
and liar
minute
aired at the
on
wrong time.
1620
I'm
The
gonna
Zone
check that
and
for the next one.
1019 The Keg. More info and opinions on Big Red than one station can handle. Now on 2 stations. Big Red Overreaction postgame on 1620 The Zone and 1019 The Keg. Sound off. 402-951-1620. Big Red Overreaction is sponsored by Burton AC Heating, Plumbing, and more. When your plumbing's hurting, just call Burton. Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. And Coors Light, keeping Nebraska chill.
Before intermission, this from 7 yards closer. And that will tie his career long with plenty of room to spare on the right leg of Alex McNulty. And Buffalo finally on the board.
The first highlight we run is of Buffalo's only score, a field goal at the end of the first half. That is interesting, especially with all the big plays we had today by the offense. Nebraska wins it by the final of 28-3. And this program is brought to you by Coors Light, keeping Nebraska chill. You know, friends, when the Rockies are blue, your Rocky Mountain cold Coors Light is ice cold.
Yum, 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 yum. Going down smooth right now, John. Going down smooth.
Yes, it is indeed. 402-951-1620. Let's get to some phone calls. Josh, who do we have?
We got Bob up first on line one. Good evening, Bob.
What's going, guys?
Hey.
Well, I'm going to put it blunt, and I hope people can understand where I'm coming from with this. They struggled at times. At times, the defense did look really good to beat a middle-of-the-road MAC school. Now, I go back to the days of, I go as far back as Bill Jennings, okay? And
sorry.
I didn't see that with Devaney. I didn't see that with Osborne. Yeah, they had their struggles, but I'm trying to find something positive out of this. The only thing I can come up with is defensive line, because I'm going to tell you, the special teams are like when you drive by the interstate and there's a car wreck, you just have to look. They're that bad. It's mistake after mistake after mistake after mistake after mistake. When does it stop? Now, the offensive line, it's a work in progress. That's the best I can say. Taylor Martinez improvised.
Adrian.
Made some plays out of absolutely nothing. Or the rushing yardage is, 2.5, maybe a carry at best. That's not what I expect out of a Big Ten team. Anybody's beatable on any given day. But I'll make this prediction. If they play like this next week down in Norman, they'll get run out of the stadium. Thanks, guys.
Appreciate the call, Bob.
John, the numbers on yards per carry, and look, it is skewed. Adrian had 12.5 yards per tote, especially after that 71-yard run. But the team finished with a 5.4 yards per carry average. It wasn't that great. Gabe was 5.6, Sevion 3, Marquise Stepp only 9 carries for 17 yards, so 1.9. Ramir Johnson 2.3, and Logan Smothers was 2 yards on his.
Let's do the quick math here, Josh. So there were 31 total carries by the running backs today. 31 for minus, let's see, math is not my strong suit, friends. 31 carries for, it looks like 107 yards
divided by 31.
Yep,
that's 3.4.
Yeah, Bob's not wrong. And listen, the running back run game was disappointing. I appreciated the fact that they really, 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 really tried to commit to it at times.
Yeah, me too.
During the game.
Yeah.
But yeah, it certainly wasn't there. Now, I will give credit to Buffalo. I think we had the stat yesterday on Sportsmanlike Conduct where they've had only one team rush for over 4 yards a carry in like the last since 2019.
Yeah, they've had a lot of success holding the opposition to few yards running the football.
And that's why I thought this was going to be an Adrian Martinez day. I thought this had to be a day where Adrian Martinez had to make plays with his arm and his feet, and that's exactly what he did. Martinez ends up with 296 yards through the air, 112. So, he's over 400 yards.
No, there's 54 of those yards are Logan Smothers passing. He finished with 242.
Okay, I see. I'm looking at the stats monitor that I have. So they do have one pass credit, but still, he had
a good game. Over 350 total yards,
350 total yards,
and like you said earlier, he set up multiple touchdowns with his feet throughout this one. Look, I think Scott Frost, I did not have a chance, obviously, to watch his post-game interview, but some friends were talking in the group chat, and they said that Scott Frost, didn't really seem that pleased. And certainly I thought the same thing throughout his press conference. I thought that he seemed like a coach. Once again, I think the conversations that we're going to have tonight are going to be enjoy the win versus not enjoying the win because of what's to come. Scott Frost sounded like a coach that knows what is to come. He sounded like a coach to me that now has gotten through the easiest part of the schedule. I think every game now outside of Northwestern is going to basically be tougher, and maybe Purdue, who knows? We'll see with them. But every game moving forward now is going to be tougher than the games that they have seen to this point. And I think that Frost's answers, I think, reflected that. In my opinion, John, this was a little bit different than the week one conversations when he was very curt in his discussions with the media. He seemed frustrated by the team's own mistakes. I know that a lot of people, and myself included, have given him grief over the years of maybe pushing some blame here and pushing some blame there. He, to me, today sounded like a coach that was looking more inward at the program. He got asked about Connor Culp, and he turned that into an answer about both Culp and Cam Taylor-Britt. That to me says he's frustrated by a lot of these little mistakes that need to be fixed, because you can make them against Buffalo and get a 25-point win. You can't make them against Oklahoma. Heck, you can't make them against Minnesota and expect to leave the stadium with a victory.
GB2G for life on our comment from our YouTube page says, I think it's safe to say the Illinois game can be considered a hiccup for Adrian and the offense. I think it could be considered a hiccup for Adrian, not so much for the offense. Adrian has been fine the last two games. He's been really good the last two games, obviously. And let's face it, Illinois probably in terms of man-to-man physically can provide more resistance than the two other teams that Nebraska's played on the schedule. Yes, I know Illinois has not looked good in the last two games since they beat Nebraska, but it was the first game of the season. Guys are fresh right out of the chute. But there's no question. And I've always thought that the criticisms of Adrian have always been a little bit over the top. People have been wanting to see him replaced, for the last couple of seasons, and we saw what happened last year when they replaced him. It wasn't any good. They weren't going to get it. They didn't get enough out of Luke McCaffrey, and they had to go back to Martinez. I think a lot of the criticism of Adrian has been unfair, and I think today was another example of that. He is the reason why Nebraska was able to move the ball. He basically created the offense that set up the first two touchdowns, and, of course, he accounted for the last touchdown. Without Adrian Martinez, this offense is not going anywhere.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. There's a tweet that I want to get to a moment, but let's go back to the phone lines. Bob is up next on Big Red Overreaction. Good evening. Or Ben, excuse me. Ben, good evening.
Yeah, I was a little confused there. Sorry. Hey guys, I thought the game was good. I mean, it's Buffalo. I think people don't realize that Buffalo is not a bad team. I mean, they went 6-1 last year. I mean, they're not Power 5, but they are not a bad team. Especially their D line is very good. I'm pretty happy with the win. The only thing that really worries me, and I hope you guys can have some input on this, should we worry about Damon Benning getting stolen away? I really hope that we can keep him at 16-20. That's all I got.
Ben, appreciate the call. Yeah, Damon, he didn't tell us yesterday that he had this assignment. This was supposed to be Jay Lehman, but I'm guessing he got the call at the last minute that he was going to be needed for the broadcast today. So I'm not 100% sure. We'll ask Damon. I'm sure Damon will explain it on the morning show on Monday, but we'll certainly ask him about it on Mondays on Sportsmanlike Conduct. That is a really tough assignment, friends, as someone who has had to kind of fill in late and you haven't done, there's a difference between a prep that you do for your show and a prep you do for a broadcast. And when you're prepping for a broadcast, you're like really zeroed in. And yes, while Damon understands the game of football very well, to be thrown into that situation, we presume within the last 24 to 48 hours, not to mention he was coaching his son last night, helping Westside get a win. He's got a lot of irons in the fire. That's a really, really tough thing to do, even with the experience and the knowledge of the game that Damon has. So yeah, really great job on last minute notice. We assume getting the call up to do the game on BTN. And and I hope it's one that he gets more opportunities to do here down the road.
I want to read this question from Jeff because I think it's going to fit the conversation of tonight and really the next week. He says, "What is your honest opinion of today as a journalist or part of the media? How do you think us fans should take this win? Enjoy it or say, well, it was Buffalo. We did what should have been expected. Thanks. Good luck on today's show." Look, I think, I'll admit, I thought that Buffalo was going to cover this game. So, in a way, Nebraska exceeded my expectations. I think it's one of those games for me, though, John, where Adrian Martinez, I think his ceiling this year has been a little bit higher than maybe I thought it would be. I still worry about his floor at times, and that's why I've said what I have in the past, where I think he's a C+ quarterback because he'll have the really good and then he'll have the really bad. The bad hasn't been there the last two games. He has not made a whole lot of mistakes. And if anything, he's had to carry the team, but he's had to carry the team maybe even more than I expected. Two of the top 3 or 4 receivers, maybe 5 at worst, didn't play in today's game. Oliver Martin out, Omar Manning out, Samori Toure, he had a couple of catches, both of them 68-yarders, both of them touchdowns. So those were pretty nice. But, so he had to carry more of the load. So I think that you can look at this game and say, thank God they got to 2 wins because now they're 4 away from a bowl game. I think that's really the biggest conversation that we're having this season. So you start with that opinion and then you move from there. But I kind of go with what Scott Frost said. You could hear his frustration. There are mistakes that they made tonight or this afternoon that if they make them against, a bunch more of their opponents, they're going to lose in those football games. So I think you enjoy the victory, enjoy the second straight victory. And then you hope that they're able to clean up some of these issues. And John, I think that there are fixable mistakes, definitely. Some of the mistakes like Connor Culp in the kicking game, like Frost said, you're kind of scratching your head and you're saying, what in the world is going on there? And how do you get that fixed? So there is definitely good that comes out of this game. But do know, as solid as Buffalo has been the last couple of years, the competition is going to ramp up. And really, the season truly begins when you get back into conference play in 2 weeks. But certainly next week versus Oklahoma is going to be a tough one too.
Listen, we can try to measure this game against what we think is going to be an extremely tough assignment next week. This program is at a point right now where, and Damon's talked about it, where you got to be your own benchmark. And where is Nebraska in relation to that? I think you should be happy. It's a win. Now they're down to 4 games they need to win to make a bowl. Okay. And let's face it, I saw folks predicting a Buffalo win, this week. And I honestly thought this was going to be a 1-possession game. And it never really felt like it was outside of, the third quarter when Nebraska kind of sputtered a little bit and Buffalo had the ball at 14-3. But then what happened? Reimer made a play. The defense made a play. They set up the short field. Nebraska gets the score, and the ball game is over. Really, Buffalo did not threaten very much today. They never were able to get inside the red zone. To my recollection, I don't believe they ever got in the red zone.
I don't think they did either.
Or maybe they did at the very end. But either way, Nebraska's defense was really good. So, I think you need to be happy. You need to be happy they got a win. It was a win they were supposed to get. It's a win they did get. Yeah, they left some points on the field, to be honest with you. They could have easily won this game. I saw a couple of our YouTube commenters saying it should have been like 48-3, and it probably should have been.
Yeah.
But it wasn't. But take the win, yes. Now, when measuring it up against your own benchmark, is this a team that, has the look of a world beater? Absolutely not. It's a team that's going to, it's going to be a scratch and a claw and a fight to get to those 6 wins. Now that we have hit the part of the schedule where there really are no more gimmies left. I know that we talked earlier in the week, Josh, about the most winnable games left, and it included Northwestern and Michigan State and Purdue. None of those are going to be gimmies. All 3, or at least 2 of those teams. I didn't see what Michigan State did today, but they all won. Yeah, so they all won convincingly. And those games have been difficult anyway, especially the Northwestern game. So, take the win, but against your own benchmark, Nebraska, I think defensively, they're getting exactly what they wanted.
Yeah.
For the most part out of this defense. Yes, offensively, the downhill running game's not working, but at this point, number 2 is your guy. You're going to live and die on offense by what number 2 does. And maybe that should have been the idea from the start. Yes, if ifs and buts were candy and nuts, we'd all have a Merry Christmas. We would love to have a downhill running game where you could, lean on a running back. I mean, look at the runs today. Irvin had 10 carries. We talked about it yesterday. We had a prop bet in predictions. Would the leading rusher have more than 14 carries? No. Irvin, 10 carries. Morrison, 8. Step 9. They still can't figure out the running back situation. Is that a disappointment? Absolutely it is. Is the offensive line, will Oklahoma get the sacks that Buffalo didn't get today? Yeah, probably, or at least they'll get a few more. But, at this point, you're going to go as number 2 goes. And honestly, in this day and age in college football, that's how it usually goes with every team. You go as your quarterback goes. And so you ride that horse, and hopefully he stays healthy, fingers crossed, knock on wood. And we'll see where this season goes. But it's going to be a struggle to get to 6. There's no question about it.
Yep, absolutely.
Before we go to break, we need an update from Ames.
Hacíamos una pausa durante Big Red Overreaction para recibir una actualización de El Ásico.
Iowa State has gone. Have they gone to a backup quarterback?
They have. They
Hunter Deckers
in the fourth quarter.
Hunter Deckers to Tariq Milton, 13-yard touchdown. Iowa 27, Iowa State 17. They are trying an onside kick, and the ball is loose, but it goes out of bounds.
Oh, you're ahead of me. Dang it.
3:26 to go in El Ásico, and it looks like El Ásico belongs to Iowa again, as they will try to run out the clock here, up by 10 with 3.5 minutes to go.
Bummer.
Raise one up for the winners of El Ásico.
Oh, my gosh. It went right by number 88.
Yeah, it did.
Oh, my gosh.
It did. Big Red Overreaction is brought to you by Equitable Bank. We take banking personally, and by Burton when your plumbing's hurting. Just call Burton, and also by icy cold Rocky Mountain Cold Coors Light. Coors Light, keeping Nebraska chill. Huskers win 28-3. Keep the comments coming on YouTube. We will keep posting those. You can watch along on our YouTube channel at 1620 The Zone TV. Also, 402-951-1620. Get in, fill up the lines, and we'll be back with more Big Red Overreaction after a Nebraska 28-3 victory over Buffalo on 1620 The Zone and 1019 The Keg.
Hello, this is Doug Nodgard with Equitable Bank. We are now open and ready to serve you at our second location at 202nd and Pacific. You may ask, why are we growing so fast? It's simple. With Equitable Bank, you get the best of both worlds. A great digital banking platform backed by our customer service. If you ever have a glitch, you can call us and we'll answer the phone with a live person. Once you bank with us, you'll never want to
Justin,
leave.
I am
ready for a superior
streaming.
banking experience. Give us a call at 402.
I thought about switch. If the game would have been close, I would have switched over to my antenna.
Member
But since
FDIC.
it's not close, I'm watching
Taste
on
the tradition.
YouTube.
And
But
you know
I might
who's
switch over
traditionally good when
for.
it comes to taste?
I don't even know what game I'm going to watch next. So Texas on one
Right as the fall's
TV.
getting started, football is rampant.
Yeah, I got Texas and Arkansas on the big
tailgating.
TV, and I got
Oh,
El
it would go
Ásico
great
on
with
the
those
little
brats. Those
Yeah,
burgers,
I'll probably
those
have
cheeseburgers,
Washington and
nice
Michigan.
Rotella.
I think Wandale might have scored tonight.
Quality, ingredients, tremendous. When you've done business for over 100 years,
yeah.
you know that you're good.
64-yard run set up
That's
their first
Rotella's
TD.
Bakery. And remember, you're going to get a little Rotellas every week as they sponsor our Keys to the Game and Big Red Overreaction.
Got a sink that won't drain? For a limited time, we'll open your drain for only $93.
Ben says on Twitter, if you guys missed the
Hi, I'm
Yankees
Mark
Mets
Evans,
pregame
owner of
ceremony,
Burton
you
AC
should watch
Plumbing
it.
and More.
I've not had a
Sometimes
chance to
plunger
see that
just
yet.
isn't enough. Burton's
No,
team of experts is on call 24/7 for
that game
emergency
was on
repairs.
tonight.
We offer upfront pricing, and your 100% satisfaction is guaranteed. Call
Arkansas
for
is
details
at
on our
5.
93 or free special or request
Oh, they
service
scored.
at justcallburton.com.
Oh, no. I have Texas.
I don't like it. Overreaction. Brought to you by Equitable Bank. We take banking personally.
Pig
Overreaction continues in 1 minute on 1620 The Zone and 1019
Pig
The
Suey, Razorback.
That
Yeehaw!
to-do list you have needs one more thing. Chill. It's an easy thing to do. Just crack open an ice cold Coors Light and chill. Take the
I'm
afternoon
chilling.
off and binge watch anything. Go to happy hour and stay for a couple hours. Who's counting anyways? or hang out with just your dog because you've had enough human interaction this week. Whatever you do it with a Coors Light.
I got a defensive
Mountain Cold
stat for you when we
refreshment
come back,
made
John.
to chill.
All right, let me
Brewing
read the
Company,
keys to the
Colorado.
game, and you can
Celebrate
bring that up.
responsibly.
All right.
Coming up on Big Red Overreaction.
Oklahoma's already up
The keys to the
24-0.
game, brought to you by Rotella's Italian Bakery. The key to any tailgate is
Wow, Texas A&M only won 10-7. I saw that.
Italian Bakery.
Dude, they almost blew it.
Well, their QB.
Info and opinions on Big
They
Red
fumbled at the
and
1-inch line.
Yeah,
Pinhead.
King
Now
left
on
the game in the first
Tuesdays.
quarter and
Big
didn't
Red
come back.
Overreaction postgame on 1620 The Zone and 1019 The K. Sound off 402-951-1620.
Got another one for you.
Big Red Overreaction is sponsored by Burton AC Heating, Plumbing, and more. When your plumbing's hurting, just call Burton. Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. And Coors Light, keeping Nebraska chill.
They're going to have the 42-yard field goal attempt for Connor Culp, who missed earlier from 32. And again, it's pushed off to the right. And the 2020 Big Ten Kicker of the Year, Connor Culp, has had a tough start to the 2021 season.
So we have now had two highlights on
What are
Big
you
Red
doing,
Overreaction. One is a field goal by Buffalo, and one is a missed field goal by Nebraska. Was the game that bad?
Come on, Matt. What? See, now people accuse you and me of being haters, and look at the highlights that Matt is bringing to Big Red Overreaction.
Exactly.
Tonight.
We're going to get blamed for this.
That wasn't us.
Toure scored his first two touchdowns. It should have been three. I mean, we had the interception, almost a pick six. So many good plays.
We're
yet
not at
getting
the
field
studio.
goals from the other team and missed field goals. This is not us.
This is not us.
Not us. This is the person who refuses to show his face behind the little dot. 1620 The Zone dot. If you're watching along on 1620 The Zone TV, that's all Matt. That's not us. We didn't do this at all.
No, official vice grip. No, USC 1620 negative as usual.
No,
SMPA.
No, that's not us. We got a key to the game. Josh does, brought to you by Rotella's Italian Bakery. The key to any tailgate is a brat dog and burger bun from Rotella's Italian Bakery. Hey, give me some defense.
How about this from Matt Olberding? He covers COVID for the Lincoln Journal-Star, but this is not COVID related. He does. It's in his bio, John. I used to write mostly about business, but now it's COVID. Send me tips at Business News. I mean, hey, I'm just saying what's in his bio. He writes, I'm often accused of being too negative about the football team, kind of like our producer, Matt Stein. So here's something positive. NU has now held back-to-back opponents to a touchdown or less. The last time that happened was in 2003. How about Bo Pelini?
Ooh, 2003. You know what happened at the end of the 2003?
Wow.
Never mind. We need to go back to the phones here on Big Red Overreaction.
Juice is up next on Big Red Overreaction. Good evening.
Hey, I just like to start out to say, make sure you guys are being objective about everything you say.
Thank you.
We are. We'll have an El Asico objective El Asico final update for you.
You guys already touched on it, and so did Scott Frost, but it just seems to be very concerning that our base run game was average today, which won't cut it against Oklahoma next week. What do you think we can do? Like, what they can do better up front? Is it the running backs? Is it the O-line? What's the issue? Thanks, guys.
Thank you for the call. I mean,
it's a combination, Josh.
Yeah, it really is. I think that there are times where division seems to be lacking. I mean, man, I thought that Marquise Stepp was pretty solid last week, and so we didn't see him out on the field too much today. We saw a lot more Gabe Ervin, but I would go first with the offensive line, and I think that showed itself in the pass pro as well. But I think that they've struggled so far. I think that they've been poor at opening up holes. I think that they have been poor at giving their running backs, tailbacks, room to run. So I think right now, and you know what's interesting too, John, is when they get outside, it seems like it works. Maybe it's just the rarity of the option, and not to continue to be option guy, but I guess I am now. That has had success for Nebraska.
We saw them run it with the running backs for the first time. It's been Toure, but today they ran it with Step.
Yeah, exactly. So that
or
is
was
having,
it Urban? I can't remember. One of the two.
Yeah, that is having some success. And man, Adrian, once again, here's some more praise for him. Great job at holding and waiting, and then pitching the ball to the tailback. So yeah, I'm worried, man. I'm worried about the offensive line as they start playing bigger and stronger and faster teams. I am very worried about it when they have to go up against defensive lines, in the Big Ten, and don't sleep on Oklahoma as well next week. I know that it's been a talking point. Oklahoma's defense is bad. Big 12 defense is bad. Their defense is much improved last week, notwithstanding. So it's going to be tougher now. The competition is going to ramp up, and it really the size and strength of teams is going to ramp up too.
402-951-1620. If you want to join us here on Big Red Overreaction, John Bishop, Josh Peterson on 1620 The Zone and 1019 The Keg. Zach with a comment from our YouTube feed. Can we get a ruling on the punt return? I know it's illegal for the kicking team to push someone into a dead ball and recover it. Isn't that play the same concept? No, it is not, because A, it was not a dead ball, and B, it is up to the team blocking to get out of the way. And the fact that, and was it Reimer who had it hit off his butt cheek?
I believe so.
It's up to them to get away from the ball. And now it would be illegal if the defender went into Cam Taylor-Britt before he had a chance to catch it. But the fact that there was a Nebraska blocker there, yes, you can force him into the returner, and that's kind of what happened in that situation. Is the ball hit the ground, hit off his rear end, and went down the field. And you heard Scott Frost, if you were with us during his post-game comments, that they got to call Peter. That's the call to tell everybody, get away. It's like there's a grenade. Just everyone scatter, get away, because the ball's going to hit, and you never know where that sucker is going to go. Matt, before we go back to the phones,
Gifford, by the way, is who it bounced off of.
Oh, Gifford. I'm sorry, Gifford. Yeah. We need one final update from Ames.
Hacíamos un pausa durante Big Red Overreaction para recibir una actualización de El Ásico.
Final score, Iowa wins again, and this time it wasn't even close. It was 27-17, but it really didn't feel that it was that close. SJ from the YouTube says, everyone still want Matt Campbell?
Ooh. Also, they kicked a field goal at the very end to try to make it a 7-point game with like 30 seconds left. That would have hit the over. They missed the field goal. The under hits again in Ames.
Oh, no. 402-951-1620.
Back to the phones we go. Our good friend Nebraska from Oklahoma is up next. Nebraska, what's going on, my dude?
What's up?
Hey.
On today.
We're doing good, man. Good to hear from you.
Man, I'm listening to everything you guys have been saying today about the team. Like, I don't know. I don't want to be embarrassed in my own state to be a Nebraska fan, but I don't know. They're like, okay, with the running game, we got to first take, like, the offensive line needs to get fixed. Like, there was no holes. If Martinez was getting that much pressure, it's O-line. If the running backs can't get to the holes or there's no holes, that's the O-line. So against Oklahoma here, I don't know, because I'm watching Oklahoma play Coastal Carolina, whoever they're playing. I can't judge their defense based on who they're playing. I can judge it based on them playing Tulane. Now, Tulane gave them fits on their D-line. Like, their D-line had problems stopping Tulane. I saw Nebraska's D-line today step up and just shut people down. So, like, watching both these teams play and getting ready for this next week, at first I was like, Oklahoma was going to just brutalize Nebraska. As the weeks have gone on, a game may be closer, but like you said, Josh, there's no run game. You can't come in. Look, y'all not coming to Norman with no run game. I'm promised you're not coming here with no run game. And that needs to be like, I don't know how you fix that in 6 days. I just don't. And then with Martinez at the quarterback, we're going to have to, like you said, John, we're just going to have to live and die with number 2. Plain and simple, there ain't no replacing. He has played the best he has with what he has around him. It almost reminds me of, you guys remember when we had, what was that running back's name? Amir. When we had Amir, and we always thought we had a great offensive lineman, then we went back and started looking at those runs. Amir made that offensive line look good because he was getting contact 2-3 yards in the backfield and still getting 7 yards. So it made up for it. It seems like Martinez is having to do that with the wideouts, with the O-line, and with the running backs. And that's crazy. Like, your O-line ain't giving you time. Your running backs ain't hitting holes. They can't get out and pass block. And then you don't have very good wide receivers. So I don't know. You guys tell me, do you really think when y'all come to Norman that it can be that Nebraska can come here and not only make a game, but can potentially win? Now, I'll sit back and listen.
You want to go first, John, or me?
I think, listen, Oklahoma's going to be favored by probably a touchdown and a half. I know the.
I think it'll be that short.
Well, the early season lines were around 18 points.
Yeah, 18 to 20.
So a touchdown and a half.
No, that's 2.5 touchdowns.
Or I'm sorry, 2.5. Done. What am I?
I was like 10 points. Dang, I'm taking.
No. Yeah, probably somewhere around 18 points.
Yeah.
It'll probably be worth it. It'll be earned. Now, if the defense continues to play well, and remember, Oklahoma's thin at running back. If Nebraska can basically play a shallow box, not respecting the Oklahoma running game, and commit more into in pass coverage, I think they have a chance to make life a little bit difficult for Oklahoma. The question's going to be if Nebraska can keep from making the stupid mistakes.
Yeah.
They can't, even though they had no turnovers today. And when's the last time? I was honestly,
you're gonna have to look
if
it
someone
up.
knows, if someone knows and wants to post it on our YouTube page or send us a tweet, whatever. When's the last time Nebraska didn't have a turnover? They did not turn the ball over today, but they did have bad penalties. They had penalties that negated big plays, negated scoring plays. Can't have any of those tomorrow or next Saturday. If they're able to play clean and they're able to stop the run with a limited amount of guys in the box, commit more, they can keep it within 2 touchdowns. Now, realistically, as we know, when the pressure builds up and when the intensity of the game and the importance of the game goes up, Nebraska kind of gets in their own little headspace and things go very poorly. So, it'll be, like I said, 18 to 20 point spread, I'm guessing. It'll be earned. And I think there is a chance, yes, that Nebraska can cover it. I think if you're asking if Nebraska can win the game, they're going to have to be almost perfect.
I mean, John,
almost perfect.
I was going to say, like,
hope that Oklahoma's really off.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like the most complete game that Nebraska has played under Scott Frost. And, if you're, out there right now, Maryland. Okay. So if they played like they did against Maryland, that would still require Oklahoma playing, a really, really, really bad game. So that's the thing is Nebraska has to play darn near perfect football, and they're going to need, Oklahoma to give them a lot of help and shoot themselves in the foot. And so, I don't think that they have a chance to win this game. It would be one of the most surprising results that I can remember around here in quite some time. So I don't see it happening. But hey, weird stuff happens in college football. Oregon was without 2 great defenders, including perhaps the number 1 overall draft pick today in Kayvon Thibodeau, and they whooped up on Ohio State. I know that's different. They're a top 15 team. They're going to be in the top 10 now. Nebraska is unranked, sitting at 2-1. I understand those things, but that was pretty surprising to me today, just given the factors of the game. But I don't see it happening. But look, if they can get it's the offense, man. It's the offense that's going to allow them to stay in the game longer than not. Because I'm with you. I think the defense can get some stops. I don't think that it's going to be like a great game for the defense. I don't think that they're going to hold Oklahoma like 28 points. I think Oklahoma will get theirs like they usually do. It's the offense that's going to be able to make the game interesting or not. And you know, if it has to be the Adrian Martinez show, I don't think that that's going to be able to happen just given the talent level and the speed. The speed of defensive linemen for Oklahoma will be way better than Buffalo today. The speed of the linebackers way better than Buffalo. So he's just not going to have the holes like he had today and like he had last week against Fordham to get 70-yard runs, you know, multiple times a game.
I misspoke. Huskers X's and O's was the first to catch it. Yes, Nebraska did have a turnover today. I forgot the butt fumble. the butt fumble on the punt was a turnover, but the offense did not commit any turnovers today, and that is something that seems to be very rare with this team. Our show tonight, Big Red Overreaction, is brought to you by Equitable Bank. We take banking personally, and by Rocky Mountain Cold Coors Light. That's right, Coors Light. We're enjoying some ice cold Coors Lights. Coors Light, keeping Nebraska chill. Load up the phone lines, 402-951-1620. Keep your comments coming in on the Twitter and the YouTube pages, and we will be back with more Big Red Overreaction right after this on 1620 The Zone and 1019 The Keg.
That to-do list you have needs one more thing. Chill. It's an easy thing to do. Just crack open an ice-cold Coors Light and chill. Take the afternoon off and binge watch anything. Go to happy hour and stay for a couple hours. Who's counting anyways? Or hang out with just your dog because you've had enough human interaction this week. Whatever you do it with a Coors Light. Mountain cold refreshment made to chill. 2020 Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. Celebrate responsibly.
Got a sink that won't drain? For a limited time, we'll open your drain for only $93 or it's
scrolling the stats like
I'm
a
Mark
huge
Evans,
nerd.
owner of AC Heating, Plumbing, and more. Sometimes a plunger
just giving them a different look.
Team of
Also,
experts
Justin is triggered that you gave Husker X's and O's
we offer
the
upfront pricing and your 100%
credit
satisfaction.
stat.
Well, that's because
Call
that
for
was the first
details
one
on our
to
93 or free
Yeah,
special.
he was
or
on
call
Twitter.
service at justcallburton.com.
So, listen, I guess I'm looking at all the comments on YouTube. I'm guessing there's like 100 people on YouTube that caught it too. So,
and of course, it's Sunday.
For healthcare that's easy,
So-
even on Sunday morning, turn to Nebraska Medicine. Our immediate care clinics provide quick care even on nights, weekends, and holidays. And for your family's ongoing health needs, our primary care providers offer expert care in more than 20 locations. Better health begins with Nebraska Medicine. Learn more at nebraskamed.com/primary care. Nebraska Medicine.
It's Big Red Overreaction, brought to you by Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. Big Red Overreaction continues in 1 minute on 1620 The Zone and 1019 The Keg.
Hello, this is Doug Nodgard with Equitable Bank. We are now open and ready to serve you at our second location at 202nd and Pacific. You may ask, why are we growing so fast? It's simple. With Equitable Bank, you get the best of both worlds. A great digital banking platform backed by our customer service. If you ever have a glitch, you can call us and we'll answer the phone with a live
Could you
person.
just type
Once you
that, man?
bank
I
with
couldn't
us,
hear
you'll
it.
never want to leave.
No,
When you're
no
ready
worries.
for a superior banking experience, give us a call at 402-827-8100. We'll answer on the first ring. Equitable Bank, we take banking personally. Member FDIC.
More info and opinions on Big Red than one station can handle. Now on 2 stations. Big Red Overreaction postgame on 1620 The Zone and 1019 The Keg.
Ooh, Mackenzie Milton
Sound
starting
off.
tonight.
402-951-1620.
Mackenzie Milton is starting
Overreaction
tonight.
Sponsored by Burton AC, Heating, Plumbing, and more. When your plumbing's hurting, just call Burton. Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. And Coors Light, keeping Nebraska chill.
Out of the air. It's a good time to do it. Teray, foot race. Teray, touchdown, Nebraska.
Hip, hip, Teray on the skinny post.
Damon, really? Really? Why did you have to Jim Nance it?
Did he forget that Mike Riley's been gone for a few years? Was that a Mike Riley
that
reference?
too? Yes, exactly.
Right, that's who that was.
That whole hip hip hooray thing went the same way as Callahan's rock and Pelini accosting people in the ballroom of a hotel before a game. I mean, those things are gone. They should be excommunicated. They should be eliminated, erased from our memories. And then he brings it out. Oh God. I cringed. I'm not going to lie. I cringed.
I laughed. I mean, I probably cringed a little bit, but I did laugh. Justin on YouTube says, Damon, LMAO. That got me pretty good. That got me pretty good, DB. Well done.
402-951-1620. Tonight's show brought to you by Equitable Bank. We take banking personally, and by Burton. When your plumbing's hurting, just call Burton. And Coors Light, keeping Nebraska chill. Let's do we have any calls? We can go back.
We do. Back to the phones we go. Travis is up next on Big Red Overreaction. Good evening, Travis.
Josh, John, how are you guys doing tonight?
Excellent.
It's Travis from Central Nebraska, not Western Nebraska.
Oh,
Josh.
where in Western Nebraska do you live, Travis?
I am right across the street from the house that Scott Frost built.
Oh, near Kearney, Wood River, as they call it.
Wood River, yes.
Yes, this is our official meteorologist of the program, Travis Klineski from KSNB Channel 4 out in the Tri-Cities.
And you guys already kind of talked about it with one of your callers not too long ago, but I just wanted to bring up the option again. I mean, how awesome is it to see the option back in Memorial Stadium and run pretty well?
I love it, Travis.
So far, it hasn't been a disaster, and that's a good thing.
I think that they run it well. I think that they should probably clean up some things a little bit because some, as we talked about on the show this week. I know you're listening. Like the pitch and pitchy relationship at times can be just a tad bit off, but I think that they're running it pretty well for a team that only runs it 2-3 times a game.
And you know what? Honestly, if this is, you notice there were a few runs that got popped to the outside as the game wore on by the running backs. If that's one way to get you're still going to need to be able to run between the tackles. It is football. You still got to be able to block up front because you can't run it all the time. But if this is one way to get the running backs, get some mojo, get some good things going in the running game, hey, if you can sprinkle it in, and if Adrian runs it as well as he has so far, Travis, I don't see a reason why it can't stay in the playbook.
Yeah, it seems like it's something during the fall practice that they really wanted to implement. I don't know if you guys had received this memo or not, but in the media here, we had kind of been told not to run any of the practice highlights of them running the option before the season began. So it seems like that it's something they want to make a little more of an important part of their offense.
And we've seen it at least once in every game, And like I said, tonight was the first time they involved the running backs in it. It had been Toure before that, so. I think, listen, if they can make it work, it looks like it's run fairly well. Obviously, it can't be a bread and butter play. It's not going to be a bread and butter play. But if it's a change of pace and it can get the running backs more involved in the running game and get them some confidence, go for it. And again, it's putting your best ball carrier in a position to make a choice. And you're going to live and die with what number 2 does. Mm-hmm. And so you might as well continue that.
And I don't think he hasn't held the ball yet on an option. I think he's pitched it every time.
He has.
Such a threat that the defenders are going after him every time. And one final note, how about that timeout at the end by Coach Frost on that touchdown that was called back? That was just fantastic.
He was none too pleased with the referees. I don't know if I've ever seen Frost like he was with the referees today. He was going after him.
Yeah, he was. And yeah, it was fun to see though. But I mean, just that last 2 minutes probably could have been over in about 2 minutes. But that was drawn out for quite a while after the timeout call by Buffalo, and then they decided they were going to go down the field, and like you mentioned in the post game press conference. No harm, no foul, no points scored, I guess. So
fantastic, Travis. We appreciate it. Thanks a lot for calling in. And this is the last day of really nasty weather, right? Are we going to be back to normal this weekend and next week?
I say we leave it to Josh, the expert. He is the one that's the best at predicting our weather.
Oh, no.
An excellent point, Travis. The warm days, really warm days, are done. We're good to go.
Shut up. Thank you. Now we're screwed.
Thank you,
Travis, thanks a
Travis.
lot. Great to hear from you.
Oh,
Good. Finally, a drop that's supposed to be in the show. I believe we've got our colleague Michael Severe on his way home. He was at the game today. Let's bring Michael into the conversation. Michael, thanks a lot for joining us.
Hey, first time caller, long time listener on what's it called? Froggy 1019. What's the name of the station again? Keg? Pop?
It's Q102. Q102.
Oh,
Q102
I like
tonight.
Q102. Solid station. How about, John, the left-handed option pitch by Mr. Martinez? How about that?
Exactly. He's the Pat Vendetti of the team, man. He's ambidextrous. I love it.
And I'm not joking, dude. We ran a little bit of option back in the day. Okay, we ran a different box kind of formation, but it's not easy to just pitch it with your left hand if you're a right-handed guy. And I thought it was pretty smooth. It looked pretty good.
It did. It did. What'd you think? I want to ask you about what you thought of the offensive line today, because obviously they struggled. I think we did the math. The running backs average about 3.5 yards a carry today. I think their best gains were all outside the tackles. I mean, what did we see today? And was it any surprise considering that Buffalo defensively has been a good run defense the last 3 or 4 seasons?
Yeah, so I'm walking out, and one of the people stops me. He's like, "Hey, we think about the offensive line." And before I can stand, he's like, "They suck." He's like, "They can't pull, they can't block, they get no push. This is going to be horrible." And I was like, "Okay, we're all coming off a really big win." And remember, I think the defensive line for Buffalo is in the top half of the teams Nebraska will play this year. I think they're better than Purdue. I think they're better than Illinois was. They may be better than Minnesota's. I don't know, but I think they're pretty good. So that mattered. But yeah, I still understand. I think Easton Piper struggles immensely. I can't wait to go back and look again. But I thought they just struggle overall in initial contact. You know, they're always catching. Doesn't seem like they're the ones delivering. But, you know, if Martinez can play like that, open plays, broken kind of stuff, he probably could get some yards against Oklahoma that way. But if they're just going to line up and try to run inside the tackles, I don't know what they need to do. It's not the backs. I've got to point out, I don't think it's the backs. I think it's more offensive linemen. But, of course, Damon will tell you on Monday that it's always the back's fault. But I think a lot of it's the offensive line.
Hey, Michael, what do you think of Nebraska's defense in terms of, speaking of Damon and words he uses, portable? What do you think that they're doing that you think can translate, whether it's next week or beyond? And what do you think are things that they need to clean up a little bit as they get into an all Power 5 schedule moving forward?
I think just flying around. I mean, Reimers will have the occasional misstep because he's so aggressive, but the way he flies around, I thought Kalarbik played really well again today.
Agreed.
Heinrich is great going forward. He's not great going side to side or back, but going forward, he's really good. I like the way the defensive line plays the majority of the time. I think it's just flying around. They got hats on the ball today, and they were all over the place. I think this offense going forward for Buffalo is going to show you they're pretty good, and Nebraska, for the most part, did a pretty good job of at least holding them to less than they're going to average throughout the season. So I think the portable part is flying around, getting a hat on the ball. My concern is going to be the same as always. I think that Cam Taylor-Brick takes too many chances out there. I don't know what he's looking for highlight-wise, but he hurts Nebraska at times taking chances. And it's funny because it seems like to me Newsom has outplayed him so far at corner. So I don't know. He's got to stop doing that and just play his game. But overall, they're flying around the ball. I like to see that. That was great.
We know that, Oliver Martin still wasn't back. I know he warmed up a little bit, but he didn't come back. We know that now that Omar Manning did not play. He had a boot on his foot. Maybe if they can get Martin back next week, obviously they've got something in Toure. We know about that. But how important would it be to at least have Oliver Martin back for next week, knowing that Nebraska is really thin at tight end? We don't know. Did we get anything specific on the extent of Austin Allen's injury?
I thought it was a concussion. Watching him when he first got hit, the way he hit the ground, and then watching him when they were working on him through the binoculars, it looked like they were kind of giving him a concussion check. His head got bent pretty good when he hit the ground. So I think or his neck. I think that's what it was. And you know how that is, man. You got to have 3 days in a row without any symptoms. Being able to be in light, not have headaches, and that kind of thing to be able to get cleared, but that they need him. They definitely need him. And Torre is great, especially 10 to 15, 25 yards. I think Oliver Martin's their best deep threat, so I hope he can make it back. You're right. Omar Manning, twisted his ankle pretty bad in practice, so I don't know when he makes it back or not. But the fact that they still started, and I know it was like one play, but they still started Levi Falk and Wyatt Lever and Torre. Think about this, dude. 4 years into this thing, that's who they started. Some dude from O'Neill, a nice enough guy, and then 2 transfers from FCS. I mean, I'm like, what the hell is going on? And
you've got Betts, you've got Nixon, you've got Brown. I mean, you got guys who are high on your recruiting charts, and they can't see the field.
Yeah, well, how about this? Look for those 3 freshmen that came in this class. None of them dressed. None of them are on the Laterro Neville and Kamani Grimes. None of those guys dressed. None of them. And Will Nixon didn't come in until late in the game. And when Alante Brown does come in, other than maybe flipping in the ball on a jet motion, I don't know what he can do. I don't know if he knows the route combinations he needs to do. It's frustrating. It's got to be, because talented guys can't get on the field because they don't know the offense well enough. Whereas you got the block rot guys who's on there playing, and they aren't getting away from anybody. So I don't know, man. What's happening? Imagine that happens at Kansas State. It's one thing, but this is an offense that's supposed to bring in skilled players that will be on the field that are putting up numbers, and they can't get on the field. That's a problem.
Michael, you've been at a lot of Scott Frost press conferences. I know that you were there after the Illinois game. I'm curious as to what you made of the tenor of the conversation. And I swear to God, I'm not throwing any shade right now. He has not had a whole lot of wins here. And so for the most part, when they have won, it has almost seemed like a weight has been lifted and he has been, kind of appreciative of it. Tonight seemed a little different in that he, I'm sure he's happy to get the victory, but he also was much more maybe critical of guys. I brought it up earlier on the show. He was asked about Connor Culp, and he brought up Culp, and then he also started talking about Cam Taylor-Britt without his name being brought up. What did you make of the press conference this evening?
I think part of it was the last 3 minutes of the game and the officials and what they were calling. I think that was more of his frustration, because that's what I think. You watch him on the field, and I was watching through the glasses. He was irate, and that was the second time they called the timeout for what I thought was a pretty bad call by the officials. The first one, they didn't give them the spot early in the game where it was short. They didn't even look at it. And I know he was frustrated about that. And then the second time where it looked pretty obvious to me that it was, right across the field, a little bit back. I think it was more of that. But I agree with you. He did bring up Cam Taylor-Britt without being asked about it. But it's right. The two guys that are best considered coming into the season a chance to be all conference are both not playing very well. So I get why he's doing it, but he didn't seem overly happy, and he was ready to move on. And he sounded like Bill Belichick on Oklahoma.
He did. He most certainly did. Michael, appreciate it. Drive safe on the way home, and we'll listen for you and Damon on Monday, and you can slap his wrist for us. You didn't get a chance to hear it, but he did a hip Toure on Toure's first touchdown. So you can slap him on the wrist for us all on Monday.
He always loved Mike Riley. He was always a Mike Riley guy. I remember that.
He and Mike Farron. It makes sense now. Thanks, Michael Severe, ladies and gentlemen, driving back from tonight's game. That was anyway. Brought to you by Coors Light, keeping Nebraska chill. We're staying chill tonight. We're enjoying our Coors Lights. Hope you are too. You can join us. We got a couple more segments left. 16-0 Arkansas at the half.
Sad.
I was this close to taking Arkansas in predictions. I wanted to take Arkansas. I knew Texas would do this. I knew they would do this. They are chokers. That's all they ever do. It doesn't matter who's their coach. They're going to find a way. They just find a way.
I choked. I really did. Sad.
And Washington and Michigan has just gotten underway at the Big House. 402-951-1620. We're also with you on our YouTube channel at 1620 The Zone. Go look for it. Look for it on 1620 The Zone TV. Come join us. And we will be back with more Big Red Overreaction right after this on 1620 The Zone and 1019 The Keg.
That to-do list you have needs one more thing. Chill. It's an easy thing to do.
All right, what are the comments saying?
Cold Coors Light.
Whoa, pig suey.
And chill. Take the afternoon off. Binge watch anything. Go to happy hour and stay for a couple hours. Who's counting anyways?
Or no,
Or hang out with just your
I
dog.
guess I can say
because
that.
you've had enough human
Yes, we
interaction.
can say whatever
this
we
week.
want on the
Whatever
YouTube.
you do it with a Coors Light. Mountain Cold Refreshment made to chill. 2020 Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. Celebrate responsibly.
At Nebraska Medicine, we're serious about safety. Every extraordinary measure we take is for you, so you can safely see our experts today. Whether you need preventative care, a telehealth visit, or advanced treatments for cancer, heart and vascular, and more. Together, we're elevating our world-leading safety protocols, implementing new sanitizing measures, all so you can continue being your extraordinary you. Don't delay care. Schedule your appointment today at nebraskamed.com.
Hello, this is Doug Nodgard with Equitable Bank. We are now open and ready to serve you at our second location at 202nd and Pacific. You may ask, why are we growing so fast? It's simple. With Equitable Bank, you get the best of both worlds. A great digital banking platform backed by our customer service. If you ever have a glitch, you can call us and we'll answer the phone with a live person. Once you bank with us, you'll never want to leave. When you're ready for a superior banking experience, give us a call at 402-827-8100. We'll answer on the first ring. Equitable Bank,
we got a full
take
bank.
banking personally. Member FDIC.
All right, we'll do that. It's Big Red Overreaction.
How are we doing on reads, Matt?
Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. Big Red Overreaction continues in 1 minute on 1620 The Zone and 1019 The Keg.
You can't have a hot dog, a brat, or a hamburger, even a cheeseburger without the bun right. That's why the key to the game always, whether it's tailgating or just getting together with your friends for some football, is Rotella's Italian Bakery. It makes your brat, your hot dog, your hamburger, cheeseburger great. They even have gluten-free buns as well.
I have a friend
no matter what you're
who has
eating for
had
your tailgate,
two
or
beers
just to get
tonight
together for football,
that
have
are
the key
of
to
the
the game.
12
Always
plus
quality
ABV,
ingredients
so
from
he's
Rotella's
having a
Italian
good
Bakery,
evening.
celebrating 100 years
He's watching
true
right now.
family tradition.
Big Red Overreaction is on the air, featuring the most important voice of all, yours. Brought to you by Burton AC, Heating, Plumbing, and more. When your plumbing's hurting, just call Burton. Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. And Coors Light, keeping Nebraska chill.
Van Treese, the reigning conference offensive player of the week, just threw an interception. Reimer picked it. And Reimer is knocked out just shy of the goal line.
And that set up a touchdown run to make it 21-3. Nebraska goes on to a 28-3 victory over Buffalo. Welcome back. This is Big Red Overreaction. John Bishop, Josh Peterson with you, producer Matt Stein on 1620 The Zone and 1019 The Keg. Also live streaming our video on 1620 The Zone TV, which is our YouTube channel. Go check us out. Time for another Rotella's Italian Bakery key to the game. And Adrian Martinez tonight, 9 carries. 9 for 112 yards, 12.4 average, passing 13 of 19 for 242 and 2 touchdowns. He averaged 12.7 yards per attempt. So Adrian Martinez, when you combine his 9 rushes and his 19 passing attempts, he averaged 12.5 yards per play on those plays. Again, he's your guy. You cross your fingers and you hope that he stays healthy. Obviously, he's going to have his moments where, like against Illinois, where things might go wrong, but he is your guy at this point, and Nebraska is going to get to a bowl game, boom or bust, based on what number 2 does the rest of the season.
Yep, couldn't agree more. He's going to have some games where he puts Nebraska in disadvantageous positions. He is also going to have games like he has had the last 2 weeks where he is a big reason why they're able to win the game, and in the case of the last 2 weeks, win the game comfortably.
Let's go back to the phones, 402-951-1620 on Big Red Overreaction.
Brian is up next on BROR. Brian, what's going on?
Hey, guys, we're on the air?
Hey, Brian. Yep, you're on the
air. You
air.
are in the air.
Oh, man, it's been a long time. I moved out here to Hawaii a long time ago, and it's been a long time since I've been able to call in. So,
great. Aloha.
Nice brag.
Yeah, no, I'm up and cracking a beer at 6:00 every Saturday to watch the game.
Let's go.
What is it about? It's about 1:30 there, right?
That's well, Today it's 2:30 because we had a
2:30.
9:30 game today. We had a late game today for me. So, but,
what's on your mind, Brian?
Man, I'm struggling to believe. I love Scott Frost. I remember where I was, the Missouri game in '97, and exactly what I was doing and where my family was. And I know where he was his whole college career, before then, after then, where he went to the pros. As a coach, I'm concerned with what our offense is doing. Because to echo what someone said earlier, the option seems to be working. Now, obviously, we're not going to go back to the Osborne era and just run the triple option over and over and over. And the thing to me is running between the tackles, our offensive line cannot handle running between the tackles. If we can get to the edge, we can get a little bit of separation and we have something. And I'm not sure that our backs are good enough to really be anything that someone's concerned about, except for Ramir. If you have a home run threat, and I think Ramir is a home run threat, we haven't seen anything from him, but I think he could be the threat out of the backfield. Where are the tosses? Where are the sweeps? It doesn't have to be an option to get it to the sideline or to get it to the outside of the tackle. Why are we just running inside? Toss, sweep, anything. Do anything else other than hand the ball off and run up the middle, which we can't do. And I don't know if Frost is trying to hide something, which over the past 3 years doesn't seem to be the case. There has to be something. You got playmakers. We have athletes. We definitely have that. So put them on the field. And if your best threats are home run threats, which are obvious today, the only points we're going to get against anybody are going to be big plays. Well, not the only, but we're going to have to count on big plays from Adrian. So let's put big play threats on the field. If our running backs, Betts, if Irvin, if those guys are 3 yards of a cloud of dust type of guys, they can't be on the field. They can't be taking the bulk of the snaps. Someone has to be the home run threat out of the backfield other than Adrian. And I wonder what you guys think about that.
Thank
Brian,
you, Brian.
appreciate the call.
No, I mean, yeah, definitely. Someone has to be a home run threat. I mean, we just kind of talked about it with Michael. You look at the wide receiver position and some of those guys that I think are pretty good. I know that it got called back. We haven't even mentioned, a lot of the calls from the referees today, but that touchdown that Xavier Betts scored that didn't count, that was pretty cool. And he was in there early, got a pop pass and was able to pick up a quick first down for Nebraska. It's been hard sledding for them to find those game breakers at wide receiver and at running back, and the ones that we've seen, so often sit on the bench, because apparently they don't perform well in practice, and that's why the pressure is going to go on to Adrian Martinez. I don't know if I agree in totality with the caller, John, about Ramir Johnson, but they got to find somebody that's able to make those plays, because if they're unable to, well, that's just going to mean more pressure on Adrian and more plays where they're going to – he's just going to get tired. He's going to get tired over the course of the season if he has to keep running and really saving the offense's butt at times.
Yeah, like I said, he probably ran himself out of 4 or 5 sacks today, and one of them, the middle blitz, the A-gap blitz that was right on him at the snap, he turned it into a 70-yard run, which is, is it sustainable, in a normal circumstance when you have teams that are contending for conference titles? No, that's not a sustainable strategy for success. But Nebraska's not in that spot right now. As far as putting some of the bigger players on the field, we have to also consider, where are they in terms of their downfield blocking? Where are they in terms of doing some of the little things beyond just being, quote, big play threats? Because at some point you still have to be able to sustain something. There's going to be a moment this season where Nebraska's going to have to put together a 4-minute drive, one of those time-killing drives where you try to keep momentum and win ball games. And big plays aren't going to do that for you, and you can't solely rely on big plays. It's going to be a fight for a while now until somebody emerges. And I do think somebody will emerge in that running back room. I don't think we don't have a Lawrence Phillips. We don't have an Amana Green. We don't have a Mike Rozier. There's not a home run hitter in the backfield currently. And I don't know if there ever will be one with this group. I don't know. I would not hold my breath expecting one to develop this year. But what you do hope is that they can at least be respectable enough to get you 4 yards when you need 4 yards, to get you 5 yards when you need 5 yards, to make somebody miss, to pick the right hole, to get skinny, in the hole, as Damon likes to say. You hope that that someone emerges, that they can at least be serviceable. I know that Divine Azigbo hit a few big plays in his senior year, but he wasn't really considered a home run hitter. He wasn't a home run hitter as a running back. You can be successful without having, that type of guy who can, take it to the house anytime he touches the ball. What you need is just competence and something you can lean on in moments where you need those yards, short yardage situations, 4-minute drives, goal line situations. That's really what you're looking for, because if you can have that, then the complementary pieces that Nebraska has shown around it is good enough to win you ball games, is good enough to get you to 6 or maybe 7 wins.
Yeah, and before we go to Jamie back on the phones, I think Riley has an interesting quandary. He says, is it just me, or does it seem like Frost is trying to establish the run game between the tackles during this first 3-game stretch before things get exponentially harder during the OU and Big Ten slate coming up? It's not working, but I think he's trying. I think that's true, and as frustrated maybe as I have been, John, that like Marquis Step, because I thought that he did run the best last week. And it didn't seem like they gave him a chance to get going. How much of right now is that idea of, hey, we can afford to tinker, we can afford to try some different things right now. Now, look, I know that might not be a correct statement, because we have seen this team struggle to get wins over the last few years, but I do wonder if there is some truth to that of, let's just try some different things early. And when we get into conference, the conference schedule, then maybe we can do this or this. Maybe that's what Scott Frost is thinking internally, and maybe that's what the staff is thinking right now.
Big Red Overreactions brought to you by Coors Light, keeping Nebraska chill. Let's go back to Jamie on the phones. Hi, Jamie. Thanks for waiting. You're on 1620 The Zone and 1019 The Keg.
Hey, guys. How are you?
Good, man.
Good. Nice to get a W, no matter what. Question for you: who was here's the deal. I'm not a conspiracy guy about referees and all this stuff, but who was that crew? What were they from? Were they MAC or Big Ten, or who? Do we know?
Usually in that situation, for a non-conference game, it's
the home team, right?
I believe it is. Yeah, I believe it was a Big Ten crew today.
So I didn't see Frost. I was at the game. I didn't see Frost's comments. I'm driving back home on now. We shoot ourselves in the foot all the time. Nebraska, under Frost and Riley and previous, it's like we constantly shoot ourselves in the foot. But we're getting called that pick play by Lure. I watched it at halftime. How? That's the second time it's happened this year. How does this thing? Do you guys think that we get flagged more than other teams? And I'm sure Frost was furious. I heard you say something about it, Josh. I'm curious if the holding call was, sketchy at best. I thought they showed on the replay forward where, he never locked up with anybody. He was just kind of pushing them around. But the pass interference call, I was blown away by. I think it's complete garbage. And again, we're our worst enemy. There's no question. But it's getting to a point now where I'm listening to other people, my brothers, family, and friends. They're like, God, we get screwed all the time. So I don't know what you guys think. I'm just curious. Again, great to win today. Martinez, he played great. Touré's good. I agree. We need to run the option a little bit more, but really just curious what you guys thought about the refs. Thanks so much. Have a great day.
By the way, while you were talking there, Jamie, and thanks for the call, I did look it up. Greg Blum was the lead official today. He is a Big Ten ref, so it was a Big Ten crew. And I believe he's also worked some MAC games, so actually there might have been a little crossover there. Yeah, the pick play on the pass interference I thought was sketchy at best. I mean, I went back and watched it several times during the break, and I didn't see anything there that should have risen to that occasion. Obviously, the bad spot that Frost used a timeout on, and yet it never got reviewed, which, of course, is another flaw in the whole mechanism of college football replay, that we just don't do challenges, and instead we're waiting for a magic buzzer to happen to initiate a challenge. Was it a great, well officiated game? No, not really. But listen, you make your own breaks, and as many disadvantage. There were times today, Josh, with called back touchdowns, the butt fumble, some of the penalties, where Nebraska could have done what they did against Illinois and withered up into their shell. And that never happened. The defense never allowed that to happen. And I think that should be seen as a sign of progress. This was not a day where Nebraska was in their own head mentally. And believe me, even if you are a team that doesn't have mental issues, on a really hot day like this, you can lose focus fast. And I think you have to give a tip of the cap that the guys didn't allow some of the bad breaks that did happen, the ones that did happen, to snowball and turn into something. They gave up 3 points. They didn't allow really any consequential red zone drives. We can complain about refs, and we always will here in Nebraska. But I thought it was very encouraging that Nebraska had some things go against them, and it didn't snowball. It didn't turn into what happened at Illinois.
Yeah, I wrote down at halftime on my sheet, can Nebraska pull away or at least stave off a team that we thought would hang with them? And the third quarter was a typical third quarter for Nebraska under this coaching staff. Not very good. They were outscored 3-0. The half began with a drive that ended with a missed field goal. There was the drive that ended with a missed swing pass. And then the fourth quarter started and everything changed. So I'm with you, man. This is a game where if it's the version of Nebraska we saw in week 1 or week 0, rather, they probably lose, but instead they were able to hang tight. And the thing that we've talked about so often is getting that momentum and allowing, the wind under the wing. Scott Frost mentioned it a lot in the offseason too. That's what you're hoping for with the last 2 weeks, taking into account the opponent's strength and how good or bad they are, yada, 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 but getting the victories and being able to translate those now as you move into conference schedule.
Final segment coming up, so load up the phone lines if you want to react to the 28-3 win tonight, 402-951-1620. Our show is brought to you by Rotella's Italian Bakery. The key to any tailgate is brought dog and burger buns from Rotella's Italian Bakery, and by Burton. When your plumbing's hurting, just call Burton. Final segment next here on 1620 The Zone and 1019 The Keg.
Got a sink that won't drain?
We
For
are
a limited
golden
time,
on
we'll open
read,
your
sir.
drain for
Thank
only
you very much,
$93
both of
or
you.
it's free.
Thanks, Matt.
I'm Mark Evans, owner of Burton AC.
Right now, John, we have Rich.
Sometimes a plunger just isn't enough. Burton's team of experts is on call 24/7 for emergency repairs. We offer upfront pricing, and your 100% satisfaction is guaranteed. Call for details on our 93 or free special or request service at justcallburton.com.
Hello, this is Doug Nodgard with Equitable Bank. We are now open and ready to serve you at our second location at 202nd and Pacific. You may ask, why are we growing so fast? It's simple. With Equitable Bank, you get the best of both worlds. A great digital banking platform backed by our customer service. If you ever have a glitch, you can call us. We'll answer the phone with a live person. Once you bank with us, you'll never want to leave. When you're ready for a superior banking
What are you having for dinner, John?
402-827-8100.
We're going out here
on the first ring. Equitable Bank, we take banking personally. Member FDIC.
That to-do list you have needs one more thing. Chill.
Nice.
It's an easy thing to do. Just crack open
Better
an
than
ice
my
cold
Arby's.
Coors Light and chill. Take the afternoon off and binge watch anything. Go to happy hour and stay for a couple hours. Who's counting anyways? Or hang out with just your dog because you've had enough human interaction this week. Whatever you do it with a Coors Light. Mountain cold refreshment made to chill. 2020 Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. Celebrate responsibly.
It's Big Red Overreaction, brought to you by Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. Big Red Overreaction continues in 1 minute on 1620 The Zone and 1019 The K.
Dad, for cancer, you can't take chances.
You're right. That's why I'm going to Nebraska Medicine.
All cancer care is not created equal. The Fred and Pamela Buffett Cancer Center at Nebraska Medicine is the state's only NCI-designated cancer center, which means greater access to the most promising clinical trials, breakthrough research, and an entire team of specialists focused on your type of cancer. Learn more at nebraskamed.com/cancer. Nebraska Medicine. Serious medicine. Extraordinary care.
More info and opinions on Big Red than one station can handle. Now on 2 stations. Big Red Overreaction postgame on 1620 The Zone and 1019 The K. Sound off. 402-951-1620. Big Red Overreaction is sponsored by Burton AC Heating, Plumbing, and more. When your plumbing's hurting, just call Burton. Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. And Coors Light, keeping Nebraska chill.
And remember, without Vokalek and Allen going out earlier, then at tight end, Martinez somehow escapes trouble. And not only that, but look at this. Martinez all the way down inside the 5.
71-yard run as part of his day where Adrian Martinez ran it for 112 yards. He added 240 more through the air. So a big day for Adrian Martinez. No turnovers either as Nebraska wins at 28-3. Real quick before we finish up the show tonight with some phone calls, Notre Dame survives Toledo 32-29. It took a touchdown pass from Jack Cohen with 69 seconds left to hold off the upset-minded Rockets.
And more importantly, to get the over. Let's go. Let's get some points.
Texas A&M lost their quarterback in the first quarter, but still managed to win 10-7 at Colorado.
Yeah.
We mentioned El Assico, Iowa over Iowa State, 27-17.
Sad.
Oregon win today, 35-28 over Ohio State.
Incredible, man. What a game.
It is halftime in Norman. I think things are back to normal there. 45-0 Sooners over Western Carolina. They are into the second half now at Arkansas. 16-0 Razorbacks over Texas. Wisconsin's up 24-0 at halftime at home against Eastern Michigan. We said, what did we say about Miami and Alabama? Usually, you don't want to win to beat you twice. With Alabama, you don't want it to beat you 3 times because you're recovering. Halftime in Miami, Appy State 14, Miami 12.
Man, I thought that they would rebound well. They went into they played at App State within the last 5 years, I think, and they went in and stomped them. I thought that they would respond well after that loss last week. I guess I was wrong. Real fast, there was a comment.
Also, Michigan's up 3-0, and they are threatening.
Yeah, they're in the red zone right now. The Monroe on the YouTube page says, "Josh, I heard Arby's got rid of potato cakes. How mad are you?" I'm very mad. I haven't eaten there in a while, but I am very mad. Those are very tasty. They're very crispy, crunchy, and delicious. Sad.
Yeah. Let's wrap up with some phone calls. 402-951-1620. I believe we have Rich.
Hello, Rich.
How you doing? Hey, this is Rich. I live out in enemy country in Dayton, Ohio.
Oh,
and
nice.
It's fun to see the Huskers win. It's better than losing. And I'll try to keep my points quick. First off, I love Frost. I hope he's here for the rest of his career. But he just does not look like he's been having fun since the Illinois game. And I just hope he figures this out and finds the way to win, because that's what our program needs is our state wants is a winning program. So, 2, it's been fun to watch the defense improve. I was at the Illinois game, and they are playing lights out. And it's frustrating to see Cam Britt struggle, but hopefully he'll figure it out too. And then, but the third point I really want to make to give you something to talk about is not only are we starting running backs between the tackles. If you looked at the first down carry for our running back, half the time it's not even between the tackles, between the guards, and they've probably been averaging like 1 yard a carry. And I think it's like you guys were alluding to that. Maybe they're just pounding it away there, trying to work it out. So when we get into the Big Ten season, we can work from there. And because if we go outside the tackles, man, we're really successful, but we rarely do that. And hopefully we'll see Steph in there more. That's all I have. Appreciate you guys' show. Thanks.
Thank you, Rich.
Thanks, Rich. Appreciate it. Yeah, again, this is a team that's got more than enough flaws, and it's, I said that these next two games after Illinois, that the next two games weren't going to change the narrative of what happened in Champaign. The only thing you could do was hope to, get a little bit better, work on yourself, but you weren't going to change anyone's minds about how good you are. There's not going to be anyone voting Nebraska into the top 25 next week because they beat Buffalo 28-3. They didn't do that. They didn't get worse. The perception of them, I don't think, fell in anyone's estimation. We still know that there's running issues between the tackles. We know there's still kicking issues. We know there's still special teams issues. We know it's not it's a team that can hurt itself with penalties and sometimes turnovers. But I did see, a few things in progress. It was really good for Adrian Martinez. These two games, really, when you think about it,
oh yeah,
Josh,
man.
These were two games for Adrian Martinez to shake it off from Illinois because he didn't play well against
Taylor Swift. Shake it off. Ooh,
and he did that. He's had two really good games in a row now.
Yep.
Granted, against teams that aren't going to be contending for Power 5 conference championships.
Yep.
Next week's going to be a lot tougher. But at least Adrian, I think, got a little bit of his mojo back. He has been able to find a connection with his newest teammate, Samori Toure. And you just hope that next week they can build off of that and go in, play as solid a game as possible, not embarrass themselves. Because again, this season, after the Illinois loss especially, it was probably this way to start this year, but especially after the Illinois loss, this is about finding 6 wins. That's what this season is about, in my estimation. This is about finding 6 wins. You found 2 that you were supposed to get. You got them. Now it's down to 4. And what you want to have next week is a game that you can feel good about yourself coming out of it, and it doesn't turn into an Alabama-Miami situation where you get yourself destroyed, and then it destroys your confidence because that Michigan State game is going to be huge, and then coming back for Northwestern, a series that has always been very difficult for you, win or lose. It's always been a tight game. So, yeah, next week is about continuing to try to build and work on your own benchmark, work on the things that you can become better at, and find a way to get to 6.
Yep, I couldn't agree more. I think that this tweet from Chuck is a pretty solid one as we get ready to log off. He says, Nebraska beat a good team by 3 scores. Should have 2, if not 3 more touchdowns. Lots of positive signs on defense. Adrian Martinez, clearly solid chemistry with Toure. The deep threat is real. Tough conditions. Nebraska walks out with a 25-point win. Fixable mistakes, but the sky stopped falling. GBR. And that's the thing, man. The mistakes today, the mistakes so far this season, they are, so in my opinion, so far, they are fixable mistakes. They are going to get out-athleted multiple times this year, and it's going to start in 7 days against Oklahoma. But tonight, games like tonight, wins like last week, and then the loss against Illinois, the mistakes that they made in those games, it's not like they were getting beat because they had lesser athletes. They were beating themselves at times. So if you can have that mindset as the program and look at yourself and say, how can we get better in X, Y, and Z, then maybe you're able to do that. And also, you just mentioned with App State and Alabama, if next week goes the way that I think it will, don't allow that game to beat you, 2 times. Illinois so far has not beaten them twice. Illinois beat them 1 time, and they responded, and they won going away now in the last 2 games. It wasn't pretty at times, but over the last 2 weeks, they've given up, 10 points? 10 points over the last 2 weeks. So, that's what we wanted after what happened in week 1, and we talked about, or week 0, hey, what do they need to do the next 2 weeks? There's nothing they can do that's going to change my opinion on this season. I said that, you said that, a lot of our listeners said that, and I still feel that same way. That said, though, there are things that I know about this team now that I don't think I knew back then. And that's, how good Adrian can be, that they are going to need to rely on him like they did today, like they did last week. But also these mistakes, man, they are fixable. And so if they can start fixing some of those mistakes, we'll see what happens.
A reminder that we're still with you this weekend. Matt Verzal brings you the Husker Hangover Show tomorrow at 8 a.m. And then we will all be back 6A to 6P on Monday. Damon and Michael from 6 to 10. Gary Sharp 10 to 2. And Josh and I will be back on Unsportsmanlike Conduct from 2 until 6. So be sure to stay with us as we get ready for Oklahoma Week, the Brett McMurphy Bowl.
Oh, yeah.
The game that Yes, we need to have Brett on again because he saved this game.
Awesome.
I know people were upset at him for the whole NCAA. Listen, Brett McMurphy saved this game. Without his report, this game's not happening, and Nebraska's playing some crap team this week. But that's not happening. Nebraska's playing Oklahoma, 50th anniversary game of the century, all that good stuff. So it's Oklahoma Week coming up. Want to thank Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. Coors Light, keeping Nebraska chill. Burton, when your plumbing's hurting, just call Burton. And Rotella's Italian Bakery. The key to any tailgate is brought dog and burger buns from Rotella's Italian Bakery. For our producer, Matt Stein, for Josh Peterson, I'm John Bishop. Have a great rest of your weekend. Go Rams.
Oh, I can't say go Cowboys. They already lost.
Well, that's true. Yeah. Have a great weekend, everyone. We'll see you next time.
Bye, everybody.